back. I'm Tedward, and today, thanks to Bond Group in Waltham, Massachusetts, we're driving a 2005 Lotus Elise. However, this Lotus Elise has been modified. It has hot rod cams in it. It's got a tighter steering rack, which either came off of an Exige or a later model Elise. And man, it's a good, fun, clean car to drive. Except this one's a little rough around the edges. It definitely has some scuffs. Somebody definitely enjoyed driving this. However, to drive, it is an absolute joy. So first, let's just quickly talk about this design. I think this is the most like supercar playful thing you can own because the proportions are outrageous. It's a mid-engine 4-cylinder with stock 190 horsepower from this Yamaha designed Toyota engine. It has VVT-Li, which is sort of like Toyota VTEC. So at 6,200 RPM, this thing just completely transforms, revs out to 8,000, and it is a friggin' blast. And otherwise, I mean, because it's so light, you don't need anything really fancy for the brakes. We're on a Dunlop Dureza Sport Z1. That should do the trick, and the consumables on this car in terms of tires and brakes, if you were to use one of these as a track rat, would be pretty entertaining and not that expensive to run, aside from the fact that maintenance on these cars from a cosmetic standpoint can be expensive. You know, if you lose a mirror or you get in a little fender bender with one of these, like, you're gonna have some big bills. But honestly, no matter how many squeaks or rattles these things throw at you, you just don't care because they are a blast. So let's show you under the hood. Pull this guy up. Nice and hot. My shoes are actually melting into the pavement as we speak, not joking. And here is our beautiful little Lotus Performance engine, but really it's a Toyota, but really it's a Yamaha. You could also find this in the Celica GTS from like the 2000 to 2003 model years. And I believe there was a top trim version of the Toyota Matrix that also had this. It's a 1.8 liter engine, and the reason why this was such a big deal was because it was making 100 horsepower per liter. And in the case of the Lotus, just a bit over 100 horsepower per liter. And I can assure you, even if you're like a big hot rod guy, you only drive V8s, if you don't find joy in this free revving little 4-cylinder, then, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You need some therapy because this is so much fun to drive. The roof does come off of it. It's got a hard top and a soft top, but the interior of this car is just all business. Sure, there's a radio and a bit of an HVAC system, but at the end of the day, it's just seats. You'll notice a little squeeze ball, like a blood pressure machine, that actually expands sections of the seat to make it more comfortable or to give you some lumbar support, which is really funky. And we've got this great little 6-speed manual. It's not the best transmission in the world, but it is really precise and easy to drive. I wish, this is the thing, some people do K-swap these, and I would love to drive a Honda-powered Lotus Elise, but the sound this thing makes is quite entertaining. The rear of the Lotus still looks the business. You've got the twin pipes coming out through the center exhaust, and the whole underside of the car is basically just one big tray with 3 NACA ducts under there to make this thing stick to the ground. I love that you can see the tires from right here. I mean, it is just all business. There's really no overhang. You just have the front and rear of the car at the front and rear of the car. It's such a short little wheelbase. Unfortunately, getting in and out of this thing, you never look too graceful. So if you're kind of doing the midlife crisis thing, you may not look cool picking up your date after the divorce. But listen to this startup, because these cams really change the game. It kind of sounds like a hot rod. Immobilizer. I love a little bit of an idle hunt on the way down. Other than that little trunk, there's not much in the way of storage, so that's your glove box. That's pretty much where the most of your stuff is going to end up. There's no power steering, so you got to get it rolling a little bit, then start making inputs. So obviously, it's not subtle. Its bark is definitely a little louder than its bite. Like, it sounds like we're going 1,000 miles an hour. We're really not, but like, it certainly sounds that way. But it's just an eager little go-kart. It just wants to go, 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 go. I love it. Now, in the Elise Sport that we drove a while back, that's got like a heavier duty clutch. Now this is doing that job, and this one's got a little more power than we're used to in these cars. So this clutch needs to do a little extra work, but it's not slipping at all. You know, it's not, it's still engaging with ferocity. And it's like VTEC where you just want to keep it in lift, right? You want to keep it over that 6,000 RPM, but like, on normal roads with this exhaust, it's hard to do that without calling a lot of attention to yourself. What's nice though is just how raw it is, because, you know, it's a static suspension. It's fairly forgiving. I mean, it actually does go over bumps fairly nicely. But because the steering is just completely raw, unadulterated, there's really nothing filtering you from the road in your fingertips. Oh, you can just tell what's going on. And you see people spin these at the track all the time because they get off power mid-corner and the tail gets loosey-goosey and the short wheelbase just whips it right around. And I can see how you can get mixed up in one of these things, but the reality is they are tight and they shouldn't be feared. They should just be loved. Gear, 70 miles an hour, 3,400 RPM, not bad. That's a good spot to be in. Good cruiser. Not a whole lot of drone from it at this RPM either. So while it's quick, it's not like fast, right? So it's not gonna just rocket you into any single gap in traffic. You still have to plan a little bit. And part of that planning is keeping those revs high. I just love these gear ratios. They're so tight and short. This is like everybody who has a Cayman or a GT4 who says the gearing's too tall. Like, this is what they wanted. They wanted... They wanted to be able to do that. Let's see, how is it with the windows up inside this cabin? Doesn't change a whole lot. I mean, it's a little less windy. If you were on the highway for a long time, this is probably how you'd cruise. So much fun. About the Elise is that it really does feel like a go-kart, but it isn't like a kit car. And when you buy a Lotus Elise, it's like you get the kit car feeling of being on rails, being really low to the ground, being very connected to everything, but with an actual OEM behind it. You know, you're actually buying a car manufactured in a factory. Now, of course, your Lotus is not the most beautifully built thing in the world. It's going to have some rattles and things that go wrong, and when you do break a mirror or crack some fiberglass or something, like, it's very expensive and sometimes difficult to find parts. But the support is out there, and there's enough of these cars that you can either find parts from old cars or you can get new parts. Engine should be just dead reliable. We're talking about a Toyota 4-cylinder. It's not going to give you many hiccups. You don't have exotic car maintenance to do on this thing, but you get exotic car vibes. And not only that, you're not sacrificing drivability with this engine. You know, sometimes when you put like a crummier engine in something, it's like a little boring. The tune on this thing, you know, there's no rev hang. Revs drop quick, everything operates the way you want a sports car to operate. And it's pretty much fun at any speed. You know, driving around here, basically the speed limit is quite entertaining. I'm still feeling everything through my fingertips. And, you know, these seats have basically no padding on them. You know, this is metal. There's nothing back here. This is a race seat with this much leather on it. Every vibration is transmitted through this seat. That's a compliment, by the way. That's a good thing. And you can rip on it a little bit and shut it right down. You don't feel like you're exhausting all these brakes either, just because the car's so light. Like, you can get the revs up, you can get the car moving, and bring it right back down to speed. It's nice to be able to go through like 3 or 4 gears in a quick rip. You know, in a GT4 or a Spider, you're well into triple digits at that point. Not this. That throttle response is just instant. You can glide right into traffic, no problem. Unlike the Super 7, like a Caterham 7, I still have like a shell around me. I still have a bit of a sense of security in this car, which you really don't get in the 7. Unfortunately, despite driving a Lotus Elise, you're not alone in the world. There's traffic, there's people, and even though you're in a go-kart, it's not always a go-kart track. We're getting thumbs up from our guy in the Honda CR-V ahead of us, and I suppose that's all we can ask for, right? Return this to the Bond Group back in Waltham, Massachusetts. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Oh, listen to that. It's like a motorcycle. Listen to that idle. Brutal. Don't forget to respect the drive. and I'll see you in the next one.